Welcome to The Backstory, a podcast from the North Dakota News Cooperative that takes an in-depth look at the stories we're reporting for you. I'm Sabrina Halvorson, CEO of the North Dakota News Cooperative. Joining me on the phone this week is newspaper publisher Ryan Janke. Okay, Ryan, you are the new owner and publisher, you along with your wife and your family, of two newspapers in rural North Dakota. So start out, tell me how it ended up that you are now publishing newspapers in Ashley and Wishek.
Oh boy, it's a long story. It goes back actually many years, but I'll try to keep it brief. So I worked for the city of Fargo, and while I was at the city of Fargo, I started taking classes at NDSU in communications with the intention of staying with the city. And as things went along, the program that I was taking, which had been 100% online, shifted to you needed to take upper level classes on campus. And so kind of came to a crossroads there, and in 2018 decided to quit my job at the city and finish my degree at NDSU. And so that those last two semesters, I went to class on campus. And in the meantime, I needed an internship. And so Sabrina Horning at the High Plains Reader told me that I could come in there and, pretty much had free reign to do whatever I needed to do for my internship. Well, while I was doing that, and I am from Wishek originally. I grew up on my grandparents' farm west of Wishek. And while I was at the High Plains Reader, I asked Sabrina if she knew of anybody looking for freelance writers, because I wasn't working and, things were going okay, but a little extra money would be nice. And she asked if I know Tony Bender, who was the owner and publisher of the Wishek Star and Ashley Tribune. And I said, well, I know who he is because I grew up there and, read the paper, and but I don't know him personally. Well, she got me hooked up with Tony, and Tony gave me a kind of an audition assignment, and he liked what I had. And so I started writing for Tony in about November of 2018. And I wrote for him right up to the time of his passing. And so I knew Tony. I wrote for the paper. I was, from Wishek, and that's kind of how I got to writing for the paper. After Tony's passing, I followed the story of, what was going to happen to these two newspapers, because, I had an interest being a writer and being from there. And, time went on, and they had a buyer, then they didn't have a buyer, and things were getting close to, if nothing happens here, if we can't find a buyer, we're going to have to close the papers. And so Tony's family approached me and asked if there was any kind of an offer that I could give them for the papers. And I really thought there wasn't. I honestly thought that I can't buy newspapers, and how am I going to publish a newspaper? It's got to be published from the county. And so I started researching. I did about 2 weeks of hard researching, like, what does owning a newspaper entail? How does this work? And kind of every hurdle that I came to, I crossed it. I mean, I don't want to make it sound, oh, this is easy. But every hurdle that I came to, there was a workaround. There was a way to cross it, I was able to, get assistance from the McIntosh County Job Development Authority. We got loans, a loan for the paper, and was able to purchase that. And then I was able to find people who were able to help and make it possible to publish the papers from there. And so we have an office in Wishek, and there's writers down there. I do some writing. My family helps. My wife Tabitha does the bookkeeping, and we've got a lot of support from down in Wishek and Ashley, people who are willing to do the reporting and do the writing, and we have, like I say, we have our office down there, and so it's working out.
So you've got a couple of editions under your belt now, being a first-time newspaper editor, publisher, the whole thing. Now that you're a couple editions in, how's it going?
Better than the first week.
Well, I mean, that's kind of a given, though. You're doing everything you can.
Yeah. The first week was pretty rough. Just trying to get everything in place business-wise, and do everything that needed to be done to get a newspaper published, let alone two newspapers. But as I'm going, things are better, because there's a lot of things that you need to do one time to sort of get set up for this or that, and then they don't have to be set up again. But in the moment, they take time, whether it be setting up PayPal to take payments and then get that connected to the website, because we do have a website. I think we went around and around for 2 or 3 hours, trying to get the website working. Well, 2 or 3 hours is a long time when you're trying to get a newspaper published. So there's a lot of those one-time things that are kind of behind us now, and there's going to be more as we move forward here. But things are going better in the sense that a lot of those business things that need to be set up so that everything can run are behind us now, which frees up more time for us to work on, getting stories and getting them written and published and all that kind of thing.
So one of the reasons, and you and I have talked about this, we know each other outside of outside of doing this podcast, and one of the reasons why this was important to you to get these newspapers is because you believe in small town newspapers. Tell me why do you have such strong belief in our rural newspapers?
Well, for instance, we're in McIntosh County, and you've got 5 towns there. The papers serve Wishek and Ashley, the Wishek Star, the Ashley Tribune. There's news that goes on in those 2 towns and in that county that's not going to be covered anywhere else. For instance, we did a story on the water tower project in Ashley. They're in the process of putting up a brand new water tower. And where else have you read about or know about a water tower going up in Ashley? You're not going to find that anywhere else, really, because it's a water tower in Ashley. But it's important to that area, to that region, because it's taxpayer cost. There's grants involved. There's things going on in town, and there's people in that community are like, I got questions about that water tower. What's it going to look like? How big is it? How much did it cost? What's going to happen to the old one? Well, those sort of things are very important to a small town community. You also have things like, the sports. Volleyball season is getting underway next week. There's a story that we wrote in giving rosters and getting pictures of the team and that kind of thing. And yeah, you can find it on Facebook. You can find pictures on Facebook. You can find out the results on the North Dakota High School activities page. But these are things that will be printed record for hundreds of years. In 10 years, if somebody says, well, how was that team back in 2025? Well, you can go to the newspaper because it's printed there, and it's got to be kept because it's an official newspaper. And those are the kind of things that are important in not only having the news for the community, but also having that historical record to say, hey, this is what happened in whatever year. The Ashley Tribune's been in publication since 1901. So you can go back and get that information all the way back, as long as you know about when things happen. For instance, my my grandmother lost 6 siblings in a house fire back in the 40s. It's in the newspaper, you know. So those are the reasons why it's important.
Yeah, and those are all, I mean, just excellent reasons. And again, it goes to show the importance of keeping record of our rural communities as well.
Hmm. Yeah, and beyond that, there's the publication of county minutes, city minutes, or school minutes, things like that that are, you know, um, again, record for people to have the information, but also to be able to go back and look at those things.
Yeah. So, any big plans for the future that you
Um,
can release publicly?
well, I've had a lot of questions about doing different things. One big question that I've had. Well, let me go the easy route first. We have a website. The website needs some freshening up, and I realize that. But for this first month here, I've been working just to make sure we get a newspaper published once a week, but the website needs to be fixed, and we're going to be working on that to make it a little more user friendly, a little more appealing when you open it up and look at it, that kind of thing. So that's one thing that's in the near future. I've been asked a lot about whether we plan to combine the papers into one rather than a Wishek Star and an Ashley Tribune, whether we can combine them and have one county paper. Because surprisingly, I thought this would be the other way. I thought that, one community would say, I want my paper, and the other community would say, I want my paper, and we don't want to intermingle our news. What I'm finding, I haven't heard that from anybody. What I've heard from everybody is we feel like we should have one county newspaper, and people are asking if that's something that we can do. And the answer is yes, we can do it. The question is, how do we do it and make sure we do it the right way? Because both papers are official papers, which means we can publish those minutes I was talking about. We have a postal permit for each paper that allows us to be able to send those papers out in a way that is cost effective, which, and I'll get back to this, but really quickly, what some people may not understand and what I didn't know until I got into this is that the reason that newspapers never come back once they go out of publication is because it's financially, I'm going to call it financially impossible to get a newspaper going as an official newspaper again, because once you're out of publication, a newspaper closes down, to get an official newspaper again that can get a reduced rate for the postage, that can publish minutes, which is a big financial, a big um, source of revenue for the newspaper. You have to be in constant publication weekly for a full year, and you have to have a subscriber list. Well, to sell a newspaper without being able to publish minutes as a revenue source, and with the we know that sending a regular letter now is 75 cents. So imagine what it would cost to send an 8 or 12 or 16 page newspaper. It just financially would be impossible. And so that's one of the reasons why it's so important to keep the newspapers going. But with that, to make sure to combine the papers, we need to make sure that we're doing it in a way that keeps those official statuses, to keep them with the ability to publish those legal notices and things like that. Because without that, like I said, the paper would go away. And so not only would we be out of business, but the community would be out of not just not only would they not have a Wishek Star or National Tribune, they wouldn't have a newspaper at all. And so we want to make sure we're going about things the right way. And I don't know this, like I say, I've been trying to just publish a newspaper, but I think that we may need to wait until election time next year, June of 2026, when the voters can approve a new newspaper, whether it be a McIntosh County, the McIntosh County Times, or whatever the new name would be. We just need to make sure we're doing it the right way. So one thing that we are absolutely looking at is combining the papers together. We just need to make sure that it, can be done, and we want to make sure we're doing it properly to make sure that there's no surprises that say, uh-oh, now we're in trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's a decision to make after careful consideration, and it sounds like you're doing exactly that.
Yes, yep, for sure.
So I said earlier that you and I know each other outside of this podcast, and that's because you are a reporter at KFGO Radio, and you will continue doing that. So now you are media person extraordinaire, radio reporter, newspaper publisher. So, and with that, I want to thank you for letting me take up some of your time. I know that you're incredibly busy, and I should let you get back to the news.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I appreciate the call, and I appreciate the conversation. And yeah, it's an exciting time. I won't lie; it's been a stressful time, but it's really exciting, and I'm really the community support has been incredible. From everybody down in McIntosh County, in Wishek and in Ashley. It's just been fantastic, and I'm glad to be doing it. And as we go on, I see great things going forward.
Thank you again to Ryan Janke, North Dakota's newest newspaper publisher. For the North Dakota News Cooperative, I'm Sabrina Halvorson. This has been The Backstory.